Welcome to season 2020, episode 19 of the Pecino Report, the podcast that gets past the hype and talks about what's really going down in the MotoGP paddock. It is an Orange Army weekend, with KTM breaking their duck and scoring an historic first win. But there's plenty of other talking points. Before we kick off, it's a warm welcome to my partners in crime. Firstly, Andra, you've witnessed history in the making. What did you think of last weekend's action in the Czech Republic?
I'm still confused because we talked about all these things and we predicted all these things and everybody's mind blown. But I've now decided I don't have any friends during the motorbike season. I think that's advice I got given by you guys. And I'm not making any more social plans till this is all done. So I'm completely hooked. And I'm sitting here right now in a VR46 t-shirt. Just so everyone knows. Also, Manuel is in a nice shirt and Stu is wearing Star Wars pajamas. So we've asked him not to show us his lightsaber because, thank goodness, you can't see us. But oh my god,
lightsaber.
Is it cold in Queensland, Stu?
Yeah, it's very cold. Yeah. What do you call the little ones? It's not a saber. It's a bayonet. It's a light bayonet.
We're gonna have to talk to your wife about this. But I think the biggest thing for me, and that I'm excited to hear Manuel's opinion about, is the whole crash when Zarco took out Pole. From my opinion, I feel like neither of them are possibly at fault because I don't understand how they could have not seen each other, but they obviously don't mean to run into each other.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
All right, Manuel's eyes are lit up. So over to the boss man himself.
Hey, here he is.
Tell us, Manuel.
Hi, Andra. Hi, Stu. Well, hey. Hi to all our listeners. And really, we lived a very excited Grand Prix last weekend. Super excited. I think that it's the most confusing, excited, and amazing race that I have seen. And I have seen around 400 or 500 Grand Prix, right?
Yeah, but you saw Jerez 1 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so it has been amazing. But before answering Andra about the incident between Zarco and Paul, I would like to hear your opinion first. Stu, what do you think happened there?
Yeah, see, I'm of the opinion that, unfortunately, I do think Zarco has to take a little bit of more blame for it. And I don't know if it was really worth a penalty, but he knew where Pole was. I agree. He probably couldn't see him because he was hanging off the right-hand side of the bike. He wouldn't have been able to see him, but he knew he was there. He knew what was going to happen. I don't... But it's a tough one because, as you say...
But not knew it was going to happen because they obviously have these close calls, and if they hadn't hit each other, well...
He knew that guy was going to come straight back onto the racing line. But, he wouldn't have assumed that Pole was going to be that quick to get back into that tight racing line so quickly. So it's...
I wish you guys could see Manuel's face.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. What did you make of it, Andra?
Yeah, same. I just sit there and went, he can't have possibly have seen him, and I think he went wide the corner before as well. So
it's like a double apex corner, yeah.
Yeah, so anyone would have taken the opportunity to try and beat him around the corner, I guess.
Yeah.
I know that Pole did Pole say in social media or to some dodgy journalist somewhere, that he thinks that Zarco could have avoided the contact, but he chose not to. That's again,
right.
They don't mean to hit each other.
No.
Do they?
He's a crazy Frenchman. Who knows?
Okay, Manuel, come on. Get rid of this suspense.
Let me give you my point of view. It's just my point of view, okay?
Okay.
What we saw basically is two riders doing what they are supposed to do, being riders. Mm-hmm. Okay, It's in the DNA of a rider that when he loses the line, he goes back to the line as fast as possible. Every rider does this, okay? And it's also in the DNA of every rider that when he sees, a gap, an empty space, he just dives into it. So both did what they are supposed to do. Right?
What I'm hearing is racing incident.
But
Okay, yes. As long as there is not a rule, because look, if you have an incident with the car, okay, the car who hits another car from behind is also always guilty of hitting the car in front. At least I don't know how it works in Australia, but here
Same.
the same. So because the guy who is
Yep.
in the back has the whole picture of what is happening. This
Theoretically,
rule,
Yep.
this rule doesn't exist in MotoGP, right? We saw the same incident happening in Jerez 2 years ago. Remember, Stu, with Pedrosa, Dovizioso, and Lorenzo, and attention, in Barcelona 2012, there was an incident between Paul Espargaro and Alex Marquez, and Marc Marquez. An incident that finished in court because
Wow, this was a Moto 2 incident, wasn't
really?
a Moto 2, yes, because that time Marc Marquez lost, or he ran wide, he lost the real line, and Paul Espargaro, who was battling with him, just dived,
it? Took the gap.
took the gap, and Marquez came back and hit Paul, and Paul crashed. After that race, Paul Espargaro said, the guy who comes from outside should look to the guy who is inside. So I think that Paul has a very short memory, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So
I believe there's a word
impulse-
for that. I believe that's called karma.
Karma.
But
Right.
impulse defense too. If you've got a bike that's coming around and they're out wide, he's probably not assuming they're going to jump straight back into the line, or should you?
No, look, both did, again, there was nobody's fault because both did what they had to do. It's
Yep.
it's right
Yep.
that Zarco was the one who is behind and he saw the big picture, but Paul knew that Zarco was there because they
Yep.
had just
So, I mean,
crossed. They had just crossed the finish line, and he saw on the board
Exactly.
0-0.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
meant so he knew that.
He knew he was right there.
That so at the end, I think that the penalty should not have happened, and that's my opinion. It's a race
Yeah,
Or
incident.
they weren't quite lucid enough to make a call so quickly.
Possibly.
So as long as there is no written rule, it was a race incident. And I tell you something more. If they start to write rules about every maneuver, then this will turn into the Formula One. That is something
yeah.
that we don't want.
And they'll be putting mirrors on bikes and indicators, and then it will be World Superbike.
And roundabouts.
With mirrors and roundabouts and cars coming the other way.
So
Exactly.
that's my idea about the
Okay.
incident, and I think this is how it has to be looked at.
Yeah, I think
I'm very
so.
happy with your opinion. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. So, Manuel, outside of that, how was your viewing experience in sunny Spain? We were here all wrapped up in blankets in Australia in the middle of the night, trying to stay warm. But obviously, you're in beautiful sunny Spain and in summer at the moment. What are some of your key takeaways that you've taken away from Brno this year?
Well, there are keys, a whole list about this, okay? I have written down a list, and let's go through it, and then if you want, we can comment it, or maybe you have other things on that list. I would start with that list with Honda, okay? Look, there has been already 3 Grand Prix, and we haven't seen a Honda on the podium.
Who's Honda?
Exactly. Well, I was going to say, when he said start with Honda, I said, what, is this a reverse grid again? Or
Well, we will see later then. Okay, last time there had been no Hondas on the podium in the first 3 Grand Prix was in 1989.
Wow.
So 1989. So the situation
Damn.
of Honda, look, they aren't actually in the championship, and nobody expects them to be. You know, in a ironical
no,
way.
that's right.
The first Honda finished 8th, I think, 12 seconds behind the leader. Okay, this is key number 1. Key number 2, something heavy is happening inside Ducati. We saw the winner of the race 2 years ago and the runner-up of the last year's race finishing 11th in the race and being completely lost the whole weekend. In Ducati, something heavy is happening. Okay. Another
What do
key.
you think it is? What's your what do you think this? Yeah, what's going on at Ducati?
And
If you don't know, make something up.
Yeah, no. Ducati, it's a problem with the new tire. I think we can go through this when we deeper in these keys. Okay. Key
Okay.
number 3. Valentino is right. Valentino was right. Because why? Because Valentino has shown that as soon as Yamaha has given him what he asked for, and they didn't give him, as soon as they did, he has done a podium in Jerez, and he could have finished on the podium here if his start would have been better. So Valentino
Yes.
was right, and you can
His
see
lap
in
times were fantastic.
and the attitude, especially the attitude. Valentino smiles again. He jokes again. He has fun. You can see this immediately. Okay.
What was it that he wanted? What did he? Or are we going to go into these deeper?
Yeah, later. Let's just
Shall I save
go,
my
go,
questions?
Yeah, go through that.
Okay.
So Valentino, right. The another key point. Viñales played again lottery. So Viñales has been once again the big disappointment. He started the championship as a real challenger to Mark, and luckily Mark is not there. And Viñales, he's every Grand Prix he shows that he is not mature enough. We go through this,
Yeah.
and there is a very clear explanation. Then another key.
What, did he punch a gypsy?
I feel like I can see him thinking
No,
instead of just.
I think he punched a gypsy.
What does
does
that
this
mean?
mean?
He's been cursed. A gypsy has
Bad
cursed
luck.
him. Yeah.
Nah,
he-
he's just.
He always seems to make the wrong decision at the wrong time.
Oh
or he
yeah,
has bad luck.
absolutely.
He must have kicked someone's cat.
Absolutely, but it's well, we go down there to this later. Alex Rins.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Rins has shown in Brno that he is a real strong and mature challenger for the championship. The way he has managed his weak physical condition and this rear soft tire during the race to finish fourth, fantastic. Chapeau, as the Frenchman said to Alex Rins. Next key point. Obviously, KTM. President of KTM, Stefan Pierer, must be laughing loud back in Austria, because when his company entered the championship, he said with a big mouth that KTM would win the championship with their own ideas, which means a steel trellis frame. That KTM would win with his own suspensions. That KTM would win
WP.
with his own riders. And at that time, everybody laughed at him because it was just
Everyone
going.
laughed, yeah.
Yeah, he was going against the, how do you say, the river, the flow of the
against the
river.
rain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Everybody
And-
said go back to dirt bikes.
Exactly. So he must be laughing a lot because everything he said that he was going to do so far, he has done it.
He did.
Fantastic. And my last
Exactly.
key point is about the VR46. How do you call them? Students, boys,
The
kids?
alumni, the students. Yep.
Yeah, they have. We have seen in Brno that they have graduated. We saw Bagnaia doing very well in Jerez, and we saw Morbidelli doing second. So Valentino and his crew has done a really good job, and we have to congratulate them because they have put these young guys, helping them all the way through, and now they are real MotoGP riders.
They're putting some
So
excitement
good.
into MotoGP. It's fun to watch them. They are really, really good.
And you can see their united like how they're
Yep.
just so supportive of each other, and they're all, that excited energy.
Well, these
Yeah,
are my
indeed.
10 key
So
points.
good.
You have any other?
They were the main ones that I had as well. Realistically, I think the KTM. I think that there's a lot in the press. I did want to talk a little bit about the reasons for success behind KTM, but I know a lot of that's coming out in the media these days, and we don't really like to talk about what everyone else is talking about. But I think it is well worth mentioning the input that KTM's had from their test riders as well. So I know, Manuel, you've got some personal relationships there. Is there any behind the scenes stories or any comments you wanted to make about that?
Yes, look, I have had the opportunity to speak with Dani Pedrosa, right? And he had told me, look, what is very important in this case is that KTM tested in Brno in July, right? They had a lot of information.
Yep.
They really prepared that race in July. The same way they have prepared the race in Austria for next weekend. And Dani told me, look, we know that we will be very competitive in certain circuits. And this was before Brno. But we also know that there will be others where we will be weak. So we haven't got there already. But what we have is some scenarios, we have them worked out very well. And we saw that in Brno, you know?
Yeah,
so
definitely. Yeah, exactly.
you have to see, you have to understand that it's just a race, you know? Again, I always say, after Jerez, we all, most of the people saw Fabio Quartararo world champion. After two races.
He was going to walk away with it, wasn't he? That's right.
You know, because at the end what counts is what happens at the end. So you cannot get overexcited and now think, wow, KTM is going to win, Brand Binder is the big fish, and so on. Okay, they did well. They will do it well.
Completely different next week.
No, they will do it well in Austria because it's their home Grand Prix. But
that was the next thing I was going to say. I heard you mention there that Dani was saying that they've done a lot of work in Brno and they understand that circuit and they know and like that circuit. And also Austria, the Red Bull Ring, it's their home track. They've done a lot of work there and they know that circuit. It's got long straights as well. It suits their engine. And they've pretty much developed their bike around that track. So are we expecting another really, really good showing from KTM this next weekend? Andrew, what do you reckon?
I was just going to say, as you mentioned, one of our listeners actually communicated with me over the weekend his frustration. He was like, why haven't the commentators mentioned Dani Pedrosa? Because he's obviously had a big part in preparing the bike. So can you just explain to me a little bit? I understand you've got your test riders. They obviously test ride and help give suggestions for the bike and that sort of thing. Would he have a lot of satisfaction knowing that he's had that input, considering he's not the one that was on the bike when it won? Or what's it like for a test rider?
Look, I texted Sunday afternoon with Dani, who was hidden in a hotel near Brno. He was there.
Cool.
He was not on the track. He was in a hotel. And basically...
even he couldn't get in.
Exactly. And he told me the most important sentence is, Brad's victory, I feel like mine. So
Aww,
beautiful.
I won on Sunday in Brno. That's what Dani said.
That's team.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And he has put so much effort and so much experience, because apart from being fast, that the difference that Dani makes with the other test rider is that a part of doing his job on the bike, he shows the garage and technicians how to work.
That was the other thing I was gonna see if we can you dig into that a little bit more for Andrew and some of the other listeners that might not know exactly the width of what a test rider does. When he's off the bike, how has he done that in the garage?
Look, in the case of Dani, KTM is a huge brand, but a brand that until 3-4 years ago was super specialized in off-road, you know, motocross, enduro, Paris-Dakar, rallies, and this stuff. So they went into road racing, and they had not experience in road racing, okay? So they spent a lot of money in hiring technician all over the paddock, technician that from different countries with different languages, and they put them together in the garage. Imagine, how do you call the Babel Tower? Many languages, everybody talking. So at the end, and it takes time. It's not, you don't get the best team putting together the best people. You get the best team making it work as a team, right? So they started to work, and when they went to testing, and it's very important to have a really proper schedule to test. So to test first, the order to test is important. and KTM had not experience, so they tested maybe, let's say, chassis, then aerodynamic, and then whatever. Okay, so but you don't, at the end you don't know which influence on the bike has each part of what you are testing. So what Dani did is organize the testing procedure apart from lapping on the track, and this has been the key.
Beautiful, perfect, and he's clearly doing an amazing job. I enjoyed watching Brad go over that finish line so much. I thought it was fantastic. Would have been better if Pol was up there, but as we say, maybe that's a little bit of karma coming back to bite him. Hopefully it won't happen again. Hopefully he's had his little bit of karma now. He can learn from that. And
Stu, I tell you something. I figure out that good part of what happened to Pol, he was doing a lot of mistakes before crashing. He was overexcited. Why? Because he saw a guy who had arrived in the garage 3 Grand Prix ago, and he was the one who's going to get the victory and the glory of winning with the KTM. After him being in KTM for 4 years, he was completely out of control, completely mad.
Yeah, the commentators were mentioning that as well. They said that a few times. It's like, oh, how's Pol going to feel if Brad gets the first victory?
He would have been the one, wanting to bring it.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Andrew.
Do you know what got me most excited? And I'm jumping points now. I'm going to your last point. Seeing Franco come in second.
On the podium.
There's he's my latest. I'm gonna have to. He's my. Get rid of Rossi now. I'm all about Franco. No, not really. There's just something about him because, like we spoke about, he's got that surfy, and every time they go to him waiting, he just looks so zen. Like he seems like such a cool dude. He's just.
There is look,
that was amazing.
Franco. What happened with Franco? It's so interesting. So interesting. Once again, after the race, Franco more or less said the following: look. Last year, when we started last year, I was supposed to be the number 1 rider of that team, the Petronas team. But suddenly the figure of Fabio came out, and Franco was completely overshadowed. He disappeared. Nobody spoke about him. Okay, so Franco told us, look, when the season finished, I decided that this wouldn't happen again because my season had been a very tough season mentally. So I decided not again, and I started to work harder than ever, harder, stronger, with more commitment. So obviously the question was, didn't you work hard enough before?
Yeah, of course.
Well, maybe he's just got his focus.
And Andra, the answer was fantastic. You know that Franco is half Brazilian. His mother is Brazilian. He said, look, as you know, I have a Brazilian side. And you know, having a Brazilian side, I like to party. Especially when
I think we've spoken,
especially when I am at home. So I tried to push my Brazilian, I put my Brazilian side into the corner, and I started to work hard. And once again, it's demonstrated that works at the end pays off. You know, hard work. And Morbidelli admitted this. I work hard, here I am.
Good.
That's pretty cool to see that be evident, because I sit there when you say that and go, nah, I'd rather have some fun, but it pays off, and then he's going to get more out of it in the end, isn't he?
Clearly he is, isn't he? Indeed.
Nah, he just looks so focused and so zen.
And he seems like you say that he had, I don't know, 5-6 caipirinhas on the bike before stopping, because he finishes so relaxed, you know, so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a dude.
Very cool indeed.
He's a dude.
Did you want to? I've got a couple of listener questions, and I think Andrew might have a couple as well. Did you want to dig into any of the other points before we go to the listener questions?
Yes, I would like, look, very quickly. Viñales, okay? I said that Viñales played on the lottery, and I explain you something that you will immediately agree. Viñales on FP4 session, that is the session that the rider used with racing setup on the bike, because it happens at the same point than Sunday. he did the whole session with the following tire combination: hard in the front, medium in the back. He did the whole session. Oh, that was obviously looked like that he was preparing his race. So Sunday morning in the warm-up, for the first time in the whole weekend, he used hard and soft.
Yeah, put a soft.
Is that his choice or the team's choice?
He went out to look. At the end, it's always the rider's choice, because the rider can say, "I don't." The team can suggest, but the decision is always down to the rider, because he's the one who sits on the bike. Okay, so he goes out with this H and S combination, and then in the warm-up, after a few laps, with the temperature completely different that will be in the race, he decides to go out into the race with a tire choice that he had never tested before in the whole weekend. So it's basically a lottery. So what happened? Then how can he come out after the race and say, I don't understand, I had a lot of sliding, I had a lot of spinning. Hey, so that was
two things.
Third time in 3 Grand Prix he did a mistake. The first, that soft tire in the front. The second, crashing, missing the overtaking. The third, this. He's not mature enough. He's not. It seems to take always the wrong decisions.
Exactly. Is that what it is? So it's two things that stand out for me. One is it an immaturity thing for Maverick, and two, is there a lack of senior leadership management in the Yamaha team? Why is Lynn Jarvis not going, hey, no, you can't be doing this because here's the data?
First, Lynn Jarvis is a manager. He doesn't go down to technique. And then, remember that Maverick had the crew chief of Maverick is the one who is now with Franco Morbidelli. The problem is that this crew chief is a guy that at a certain point he says to the rider, enough, you won't do this, you won't do it my way, because I have 30 years of experience. And this Maverick didn't like, so he fired this guy. And this guy was sent
how's that working out for you, Maverick?
Yeah, exactly.
So now Maverick is surrounded by people who dare not to say no to Maverick.
They're
and
just yes men.
This is period. That's the point. No other.
Wow.
Silly boy.
There's the scoop. There you go. Wow.
He shouldn't have shaved. That's the problem.
Shouldn't have shaved.
Shouldn't have shaved.
Brilliant. Okay, Andrew, did you want to run through a couple of listener questions?
I do. I was just going to quickly ask one more thing about a point, if I may.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm meant to interrupt, aren't I? Alex Rins.
Soldier.
Can we talk about how awesome he is quickly?
Yep.
Yeah, he did very well. Look, his shoulder was really bad. He had a lot of pain. In fact, Sunday morning he didn't go out into the warm-up because he was saving energy for the race. So, and he did so well. And he went out with the same soft tire than Maverick Viñales.
Yeah.
But he finished fourth. And why? Because he had used the tire combination the whole weekend. And he had set up the bike. He had set up the bike for that tire, and he knew that he had to administrate, and at the end he finished fourth.
Yeah.
Very close, 1 or 2 laps more, and he would have finished on the podium. So
completely.
Really,
as we say, it's evidence. If you do the work, you'll get the result.
Of course, and
Maverick
if you
hasn't done
don't
the work on that soft tire.
and if you don't play the Russian roulette.
Yeah. That's it.
Yep.
That's exactly
cool.
right.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I just thought we had to better touch on that because he was bloody.
Yeah, definitely.
He's
That's
an incredible
fantastic.
person.
And before we do, I just want to put my hand up and go. The losers from the weekend, Ika Lekuona, poor bugger again. Hervé Poncharal was already ready to Poncharal him in the face.
Oh, how much trouble would he have been in?
He said before this race, Ika has to finish this race. Full stop. Doesn't care where he comes. He has to finish the race. And then he gets taken out.
That was horrible.
He got taken out by somebody else. That was terrible. And also, Joan Mir was also my other big loser. Who, that was the same. Yeah.
Look, do a funny exercise when you have a moment. You pick up the race standing, right, from last Sunday, and turn it around. If you turn it around, the order is exactly the opposite than the last 2 years, because we see at the top, that now is the bottom, a Repsol Honda. Repsol Honda, which won last year. We see in the 4th position another Repsol Honda. We see Maverick Viñales. We see Dovizioso. We see Cal Crutchlow. But they are all in the bottom. You turn them around, it's the result from last year. And hang on. And you see all these bikes are factory bikes. And at the bottom,
what's happened to the world?
At the bottom, you see Franco Morbidelli, who did a disaster with Honda. You see Johan Zarco, who was nowhere. You see Brand Binder, who didn't exist. And suddenly, they are at the top. So it's like if we were down under, you know, that the
it's crazy.
Exactly.
They just turn around the classification.
Yep. It's a crazy 2020 coronavirus world that we live in. It's insane.
Exactly.
It's like if somebody came and saw this, he said, "Hang on, in which planet are we here?" You know?
Yes, exactly. It's insane.
Absolutely, and that's
Andrew,
like I was just on social media. I've had a few people messaging me every weekend, and I'm absolutely loving the interaction and. Everyone's just crazy excited, and I've had a few saying to me, you know, what a season for you to get into this, Andrew. Like, you must just be mind blown. And it's been bloody brilliant. So I just did want to give a quick shout out to Steve, and he's sent me a picture of his lounge room, and he's got motorbike parts and motorbikes and everything in his lounge room. Yep, and he sits there with his beer, and he listens to our podcast all the time.
G'day,
also,
Steve.
We've mentioned Yash before, but I have to give him a special shout out. I'm loving his messages. He's all over it. He's a bloody champion. We did have a question from another listener. This is anonymous. They said that Fabio mentioned on social media that Michelin may have chosen the tyre specs for the GP after KTM's test in July. And what was our opinion?
Look, this is the answer is very short. It's very short. Fabio, the only thing he has to look at is where his teammate finished. Period.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah, he's trying to excuse his own poor performance, possibly. Look an excuse.
No, saying that the Michelin would have chosen a tire who matched only to KTM, but his argument with Morbidelli second place is fake. It's fake.
It's really
Rossi
nothing.
right up there as well.
Look inside your own garage and not outside, Fabio, this time.
Fair enough. Yeah.
We could all take a bit of that advice, couldn't we?
Yeah, indeed.
That was
so
very
I've got a question
wise.
as well from another anonymous listener. This one reads, why did the factory Ducatis fail so badly when last year's bike was so competitive in the hands of Zarco? Is this a reflection on Dovi and Petrux, the factory riders, or is there something else underlying? And this sort of gets to what you were talking about in one of your other points about big things happening in the background in Ducati, I suppose.
Oh yes, look, I think that Zarco's performance, really, I think that is an accident, because Zarco is a rider that appears, then disappears for 3 or 4 races, then he appears. So Zarco is the anti-consistency. So I wouldn't use Zarco as a reference. I rather would use Bagnaia, right? Bagnaia got hurt this weekend, badly hurt, but until then he was in the front, while his more experienced teammate, including Jack, were far in the back. So basically the big problem that Ducati is facing is the new Michelin rear tire. Okay, and Dovizioso explained it very well. He said, look, we are managing this new rear tire, which gives us a lot of problems. We are managing this with the experience we had in the past, okay, with all the data. Because how does it work, Andrea? Look, the teams have so much data that they say, this bike is sliding in 3rd gear. So they go to the database and look, he said, headline, sliding in third gear. Then they have a lot of points, what they did in the past to correct it, and what was the conclusion. So they apply the same to the situation. This is why they have all this data. And this doesn't work. This doesn't work. Nothing what they have tried has worked. In fact, Dovizioso said an incredible sentence. He said, "We are out of control." So imagine this said by a factory with tens of engineers, with the most sophisticated programs, you know. So what happens? Then you go to him and ask him, well, and what about Bagnaia? And then the answer is, maybe his advantage is that he has no experience on the bike. So he and his team, they are, how do you say, searching in areas that we don't even think about. And this shows to be the right direction. But then what I don't understand is, look, I made an interview with the Michelin guys in February, and the engineer told me, look, the new tire will force the rider who ride more radical to change their riding style. They have to cut their aggressiveness, and the bikes who are really built around this type of rider, which are Ducati and Honda, will have to change. This happened in February. We are in July, and they are still lost, you know. And Honda, we don't know because Mark is not there. But this is the explanation. And again, now next weekend we will have Austria. Austria is a track where the Ducati
high performance from Ducati.
Yeah, and no other brand has won ever a Grand Prix in that circuit. So you can imagine the pressure if they don't win. That will be like the graveyard for Ducati.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and so over the next few years, what does that look like for Ducati if they really do fall off a cliff like that? How will that affect the team?
Look, they have to fix it. It's easy. It's easy. Look, the same way Jorge Lorenzo changed his riding style from Yamaha to Ducati when he got there, and it took him 1 year and a half. The engineers have to adapt the things what they have. It's very easy.
Andrew had a question.
Oh no, I was going to take us off track with my question. I was just going to go, but what's going to happen next weekend?
Well, what is going to happen next weekend? I think we are just about out of time. So I think we should wrap it up there realistically. But I think before we do, what's going to happen next weekend? Let's go around each of us. So, Manuel, what do you reckon is going to happen next weekend?
Well, this is the typical thing when you say something and it doesn't happen. You get 1,000 of messages. Big mouth, your big mouth. You think you know everything. Blah, 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 blah. Typical.
I put my €100 on blah, and you didn't win. It's your fault.
No, but anyhow, well, it's clear that the KTMs will work. This is absolutely clear.
Yep.
It's clear that the Yamaha will suffer because they don't have always suffered there, and they don't have enough power. It's also clear that
enough engines.
I don't know if Honda is going to be at the track, if they are even going to there. Because
they just won't turn up.
I think we will see another classification turnaround, you know, with the Hondas at the top, at the bottom. And the big question, the big question is about Ducati. That's the question that is, I think that nobody can answer. That is what they are now trembling in Borgo Panigale about that.
Yep. How quickly can they sort out those rear traction issues?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Andrew, what do you reckon?
Well, considering that I predicted who was going to win Moto2 last week, I clearly have no idea. I was so excited. Then I was like, hang on, Andrew, you don't really know what's going on here. It was purely a guess.
Yeah.
This week, I think that we might see a win from Tito.
You've been smoking that broccoli.
Yeah, but lots of broccoli.
Anything could happen. Anything could happen.
But not as far.
If Johan can do it, then I clearly can.
And you, Stu, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a KTM podium lockout.
Wow.
Ooh.
1, 2, 3.
Wow.
I think it's going to be Brad Binder, Paul Espargaro, and Miguel Oliveira on the podium.
What about Iker?
I thought
Iker
that
Lecuona.
that you were going to say
I was
Iker
gonna say
Lecuona.
I reckon he might. I bet you he doesn't finish a race.
Look,
no,
Did you
I
see-
really hope he does.
Did you see Oliveira's lap times on the weekend? He was one of only 4 riders in that entire race. For the entire race, they never went into the 2 minutes. He was 58s,
Wow.
59s the entire race. There's only 4 of them. There was Binder, Oliveira, Rossi, and Rins. With the only 4 riders that didn't drop below over 2 minutes. It was incredible.
oh
Incredible
yes,
pace.
Oliveira's time will come.
Oh yeah, indeed.
If he doesn't
Okay.
get knocked off.
Look,
Yes.
I think
Wonderful. Thank you.
we can stop here, but we have to open our next podcast. We have to talk about the new generation, if there is a change of generation arriving. And
It
I
seems
think
that way, doesn't it?
I think that after Austria, that we have seen Grand Prix racing in 3 different tracks, then we can do a analyze if the generation of Morbidelli, Quartararo, Binder, Mir, Bagnaia or Rins have arrived to send home the old guys.
Yep. Kick him out the door.
Bring it on.
Wonderful. Indeed we can. Andra, have you got some closing messages for our listeners?
If you like what you're hearing, please share, tell your friends, send us messages, follow us, rate us. Is that everything? Send nudes.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
don't send
subscribe,
nudes.
Send nudes. Yeah, we don't mind.
No, don't.
We're hungry for any kind of attention, good, bad, or indifferent. No, yeah, please do rate us on your favourite platform. Tell all your friends about us. If you're enjoying the podcast, let everybody know. If you're not enjoying the podcast, let us know and we can improve it. Please, we love your questions. Send us questions. We love that. It's been fantastic. We do this purely for you. Get yourselves over to pecinogp.com. What can they see over there at the moment, Manuel? What have you been tapping away at on the website?
Well, there is another good story that is very interesting. Look, and I try to make it short. You know what? The new Michelin tire has basically, how do you say, when you with the carts, when you do
What are you doing? Oh,
yes.
he was doing shuffling actions, everybody. I think it was shuffling.
It was a cutting motion. Tread. You're cutting tread into the tires.
I thought you were
No.
shuffling.
No. The carts they had before, they have just put new carts in because the new tire has changed the carts each manufacturer has. You understand?
Oh, right.
Before,
Okay, yep.
before,
I'm lost.
before the tires were basically tires that were good for hard breakers, Ducati and Honda.
Yep.
The new
Yep.
generation of tires,
Ooh.
the new and their way they work is better for Yamaha and Suzuki. Now
Okay.
the big question
Speed
is, has this been casual, or has somebody Dorna sit down with Michelin and said, guys, we
Yeah.
want the racing more equal.
Want to level the playing field.
Ooh.
That's it.
Wow. That is, and you've got a story about that on the website at the moment, have you? Or?
Well, I'm inventing the story. I have some ideas.
Beautiful.
No, that'd be great. Honestly, I would love to read that story. That'd
Yeah,
be
but
fantastic.
this
So
point of view, you
get
know,
yourselves over.
is there anybody looking at this that way? No, but it's happening.
Not yet.
It's happened.
Yeah, it's going to be happening. Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, get yourselves over to Pecino GP and keep an eye on for that story and other ones to be coming out. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again, Manuel, Andra. It's been wonderful.
Always a good
Stuart.
meeting.
Let's see what happens again in Austria.
Okay, bye bye.
Yay.
Thank
See
you,
you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Nice.